From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LA Late.
It's a big early morning of Early Mornings LA, direct from Santa Monica with your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. As we go into this incredible recording, we have a deal on prescription medication, the first ever in the history of Medicare. What an incredible achievement for this recon. We have the breaking news today as a deal will be happening for prescription medication, and a vote as well will be happening as early as later this week. Then, programs in, programs out, Medicare Plan B and D, getting cheaper prescription medication. I have the breaking news, all the incredible lifetime historic major deal for my seniors for big money across the board. More student loan debt could be forgiven. I have the latest details by executive order in this early morning's broadcast. And then the COLA raise, that 5.9% that's coming. But guess what? Because Fistimulus is right behind that. It's a big day with the vote for the recon potentially just within days of now. Potentially by the end of the week, says Nancy Pelosi. I have these incredible details as we go into a big early morning broadcast. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. How is he standing up and not crashing? He's a good server. It's a great server. It's a big, bold, beautiful early mornings LA. I'm excited you're here. You're here. I'm here. We're just missing the bacon. And with that, let's get to the details. It starts right now, and this is Early Mornings LA. The weather's good where you are. It is beautiful here in Southern California. The bird is out. He's looking for the bacon. He cannot find the bacon either. Deals happening for that recon. And cheaper prescription medication is the latest add-on done last night. Done deal signed and nearly sealed. The vote on the recon within just days. Oh boy, we're hitting out. The price tag 1.75. I'll go over the latest details direct from Santa Monica on this beautiful day. It's crisp, it's wintry, and boy, it's just like money. Programs in, programs out are the latest details of which programs are in this recon and which ones are coming back in. The voting process, the details, everything you want to know happening on this channel and revealed on this channel before anywhere else. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven for that big executive order that everyone's waiting for. That COLA raise as well, 5.9%. But get ready, because Fistimulus is right behind that. It's a big early mornings broadcast. I'm here, you're here, and I guess he just stays on top of that board. He's a good surfer, and this is Early Mornings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. What an historic, groundbreaking, transformative day it was as a deal was reached for one of the biggest things you could ever want, cheaper medication as a senior. The recon was passed in a House subcommittee of $3.5 trillion several weeks ago, and that recon has been reduced down to 1.75, but guess what? It's still going to pay you about $15,000. It's $15,000 if you're single, married, children, no children, benefits, not on benefits, elderly, young, it's $15,000. It's over 3 classes of checks. We're going to go over the latest details of each one in and out. It's at the time of this recording because things could still be going in throughout the day. We're going to have breaking news all on this channel all through the day. And let's go to the first cluster. Here we go. Everything in the first cluster survived. Yes. Hazard pay got in there. That earned income tax credit for 1 more year. And then the elder care got in there. That's $4,000. Then the $4,000 for young children's money got in there as well. Pell's grant expanding that for 1 more year for the college students with the big money of student loan debt of $550 on top of that. And then tax-free. They got the CTC for 1 more year. And then they got the money for the free home repairs if you live in a low-income community. Wow, there we go. Then they got the expansion of the very old provisions, almost almost a decade old. For another decade, it's the bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufactured. 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike, $7,500 for a new electric car, personal use, a little bit more for business use. Let's go to the first add-on. We got 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. The first add-on is that Maxine Waters provision for the first-time home buyers. Did not survive at this price point, but the good news is that the other provisions from Maxine Waters that concern housing like this one survived, and a lot. $175 billion. Let's go over the second home item in there, and it's home repairs. Weatherizing your home got in there. Let's go over the details of what's the status on the second cluster of checks. Boy, here we go. Well, when we look at the second cluster of checks, the paid leave, it's reportedly going back in there. Paid and family leave, household tax credit in there. The pre-kindergarten got it in there. Tuition-free college got out. And then the money to weatherize your home is in there. The mother to weatherize your home is in there. You definitely need to weatherize your home. If the big pharma lobbyists come knocking at your door, keep the door locked, because we won yesterday. We won. For 20 years, they tried to block yesterday's event from happening, and now all the legislators are on board. Boy, more about that. Stay with me. There's a lot coming up in this video. Let's go to the second add-on, and that is also huge. The president promises during the campaign trail, and now he's delivered. It is the home health care. The home health care, and how much? Well, it's not going to be $250. They went at $250. It's going to be a little bit less. It's free home health care if you're a senior or a person on disability. Wow. Let's go to the third cluster checks and see the stats on those. That is the battleground. Are you ready? It's just like Games of Thrones, but for stimulus. So here we go. Free school meals for all. Got it in there. The cheaper prescription, yes, it's now in there. It wasn't in there yesterday. The immigration reform in there, but likely coming out. The farmers, I think it's out. I think the free internet is out. The clean energy is out. And I think the independent contractors is out. And then the Medicare expansion partially in there, but not. Let's go over some of those details, because I know that was a lot. Yeah, it's a battleground, that third cluster. So here we go. The money for immigration reform will go to a Senate parliamentarian as early as today, and I think it's coming out. I have a lot about this later in this video. Then the Medicare expansion, well, they expanded across 50 states. That's good. Now every state has to pay their fair share, whether Republican or Democrat, because of Warnock and Claiborne's great assistance on the writing. Then the dropping the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 50 or 55 did not happen, but they got hearing in there, not vision or dental yet, but we're not over yet. It's just the start of a new day. Let's go to the third add-on, and that third add-on, boy, if you ever had inspiration, it's today. That MSC IRS monthly stimulus check, not in the recon, being added in there, so says the legislators themselves. Not my representation, their representation. Senators more than House members. And guess what? It's the senators who are negotiating these provisions. You're going to see throughout this recording that the senators are going over the negotiations. It's the House members that are focusing more on the procedure, who, when, where, across the board. And who wants to give you a monthly stimulus check? Well, senators Casey, Coons, Warren, Sanders, Schumer have told countless thousands of viewers of this channel it's going in there. Schumer is very important to the equation, because yesterday he made the announcement about that medication deal, and he said exactly what a good progressive would say. It's good. It's not as much as we want, but we can come back and do more later on. I love it. So Schumer says he wants to give you a monthly stimulus check, and he told Donnie this week. He told Donnie's wife the last week before that. He told Debbie Applegate and other viewers, you got to keep on advocating. If there was any reason to advocate, here is one. Bernie Sanders on Thursday morning said it's unconscionable that cheaper medication is not on the recon. And he spent all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to get it in there. He did not get exactly what he wanted, and you can hear his comments later in this video. But this advocacy was by the guy who's in charge of the recon, basically, and he didn't have his own baby of a provision in there. He advocated, he got it in there. That is what you need to do. As the wonderful Jennifer in the live chat always says, how many phone calls have you made? Let's read the message across the board from the chief of staff to the number one person in the equation. The message is very clear and across the board. It says that you need to keep on advocating until we are at the finish line with nearly 3 million signatures, nearly 3 million calls. We now have, between congressional and senatorial office, received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power the number of signatures in the American petition. Wow. Now they have a better understanding of what people are going through the pandemic because of ULA. They have heartbreaking stories, and now they have the voice of the people across the nation in ULA, as you have been too loud to be ignored. Very, very kind. Let's read the last sentence on air because it truly embodies what happened with the prescription medication. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as a professional voice of the people. You have become allied, and continue this until it's law. Boy, if you cannot see anything that mirrors MSC, it's exactly what happened yesterday. 15 paid lobbyists for 20 years trying to keep Medicare from ever negotiating any dollar item on medication. 20 years, 15 lobbyists were doing anti-purple power. They're trying to prevent something from better happening. And what did the legislators do? They pushed every single step of the way, and they got it in there. You need to as well. That is why you got to pick up the phone and call. As Jennifer said, how many times have you called today? In the second half of this video, we have a lot coming up. Boy, it is a big recording. The deal reached for the cheaper prescription medication. I'm going to go over all the details, what it is, how much, who gets it. Then the vote. The vote could happen as early as later this week, Nancy Pelosi says. The price is right. It's 1.75. It will not be 10 trillion. 10 trillion? Who said 10 trillion? I'll go over what happened and why Joe Manchin may have caught something. Programs in, programs out, the latest details on that. And then student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven. And then the big exciting details of fifth stimulus. We got a lot coming up in this video, except the bacon. It's a big early morning's broadcast. I'm excited you're here. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as the big groundbreaking details of the deal for pharmaceutical medication are revealed. Be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA Live Daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And a deal's happening. The deal could go to a vote as early as later this week, and this is after a major deal is unveiled with prescription medication. I have the latest details of this major deal revealed overnight. Then we go over the programs in and programs out, and more programs could be going in with a price tag of 1.75. What programs are next to go in? Then we turn to the exciting details of student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven across the board. Whose debts would be next to be forgiven? I have those as well. Then the COLA raise. The COLA raise is right behind that, coming up in just weeks. But get ready for fifth stimulus, because we got a big recording this morning. And the excitement just starting. It's a big early morning's broadcast. I'm excited you're here, and this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers YouTube record. Hit the subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, currently playing live on this channel. And then we go into Mornings LA live on air at 9 a.m. Mornings Crypto at 10 a.m. live on air. And then noontime live on air. So hit that subscribe button. Like the video and consider becoming a member across the board. Well, what a day it is. A historic, transformative, once-in-a-generation deal done. Cheaper prescription medication. If you don't know what we're talking about, Medicare, which is medication for seniors, was established decades ago, and under its charter establishment, there was no ability for the federal government to negotiate cheaper prices of medication. It impacted both Medicare and it impacted you. And what happened over the next 20 years? Over the next 20 years, all the way up to the present, big pharma, pharmaceutical companies, spent millions and millions of dollars to block any change to Medicare, campaign donations to politicians, ad campaigns, and similar, to say, don't change it. This is as the Veterans Administration had more recent legislation that allowed them to have cheaper medication prices. Well, the President of the United States did it. It's all his big doing. Kristen Sinema was the adversary in the situation. She blocked this for months, and the president had that big meeting on Wednesday. And this is why I stay with this channel, because I have been a hawk with this story day in, hourly. There originally was Medicare Plan B in there Wednesday morning of last week, which is cheaper medication for people like diabetes and insulin. By Wednesday night, the president made the big phone call to Kristen Sinema saying, you got to expand it beyond just Plan B. We got to do more. And she said yes. He then on Thursday debuted the recon in part, but there was no mention of medication. I was confused. You were confused. And quickly I learned it was not debut because it wasn't finished. It's definitely in there, but wasn't finished. From Thursday all the way to yesterday, they negotiated. Every step of the way, I told you the negotiations, and finally, it was done. Yesterday, I delivered the breaking news to you. As the senators got a deal among them, all the senators, that cheaper medication will be coming to millions of Americans' seniors. What is it? Let's go over the details. The negotiated cost of 30 medications by 2028 would now be in the hands of the government. The government never had ability to negotiate lower rates because of the way Medicare was set up. Basically, the pharmaceutical companies could set the price and the federal government had to pay it, and you were stuck with a big check. Now the government can negotiate the cost of 30 medications by 2028 and only carve out small biotech companies. Moreover, there is a provision in there that will only allow the companies to raise the prices based upon inflation on the 2021 inflation rate. This is not as good as the House would have liked it, but it's still very good, so they won't be able to step it up much at all. What is in there? Plan B and Plan D under Medicare. Medicare Plan D includes things like a cancer medication. This is after the Democrats had saw big pharmaceutical companies fighting for 2 decades to keep this provision ever from happening, forcing Medicare to just do what they had to do and take whatever was offered to them by big pharma. For the first time in 20 years, it's no longer the case. Now, the pharmaceutical companies have to negotiate with Medicare for the first time in 20 years of Medicare's history. It's not as big as the House bill, but it is a bill that will pass. Here's an example. It's good across the board. $35 per dose for cap on insulin. Very big cap, very small cap. Then negotiated rates on some of the most expensive medication in Part B and Part D, especially for those for arthritis and cancer. Big discounts. Some real wins for patients and consumers, says Ron Wyden. This is not the first time. For the first time, Ron Wyden says, for the first time, the government will no longer have its hands tied behind its back. This is a real sign of progress. Chuck Schumer really had a great quote. I love his quote. Why? Because he speaks like a progressive. He says, it's a big win and it's not as big as we would like, but we need to start somewhere. Imagine you have zero. You literally have zero. You have a bad law that says you can't get anything negotiated. You have to take whatever they charge you and pass the costs over to the consumer. And now they got the first win in 20 years, which means they're going to keep on trying to get better every year with this provision. We heard from the people across the country who have serious illnesses, cannot afford their medicine. Today, we have a massive step forward in helping alleviate the problem. It's not everything we wanted. Many of us would have wanted to go further, but it's a big step in helping the American people deal with the price of the medication. Good job, Chuck. Kristen Sinema said it's transformative and it ensures that Americans will continue to have a life-saving medication. Majority Whip Dick Durbin said it's a big win. I would prefer something stronger, but I don't want to end up empty-handed. This is more than that. I wanted more than this, but this is a big step in the right direction, a modest beginning. Bernie Sanders said it's nowhere near far enough. The Veterans Administration spends half as much on prescription medication as does Medicare, and that's absurd. Peter says no one is 100% happy, but it's really good for seniors. Then lobbyists were really just spending fortunes for years, 20 years, and really spending massive campaign donations in recent days. They have a very powerful influence in Congress, says Jan Schakowsky. Wyden said that you basically couldn't negotiate any medication as a Medicare official. You couldn't negotiate anything for 20 years. The Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturing of America had no comment to the news. Tom Caper said that he didn't believe that all medication should be in there. And this is similar to what we do with the VA, where there's a formula. Not every drug, not every medication, so it costs a sum. And Senator Menendez said they were not, we would make sure that Americans had the greatest relief possible when they go to the cash register. It was not about just the government saving money. I think there are provisions, the latest version, that'll do that. Very well said. So he said it wasn't about just the government saving money for themselves, it was saving money for you. Wow, what an incredible win. The day before that, we had that comment from Joe Manchin, and yesterday, broadcast media sort of ate crow because I told you they had put their foot in their mouth. They just said it was much of just sort of enormous news. It wasn't much of enormous news. Joe Manchin said what he'd always said: I need to see the body of the legislation, and nothing more embodies that than the deal with the prescription medication. A lot of writing had to go into getting that medication language. So let's go over a little bit more of what is likely to be the next deal across the board. One thing that I want to go over first, though, is the $1.75 trillion recon price. Joe Manchin in that press conference on Monday said, I agree to 1.7, I'm happy with 1.75, but that's not what's happening. This is a so-called 1.75. So-called? I'm the only one who really picked up on that nuance of that statement. This is what I believe that's happening, is that Joe Manchin looked at this early draft of the recon, and it looked like the provisions have automatic renewals, which means it's not going to be 1 year. It's going to be 20 years, or 30 years, or 40 years, and suddenly it's not 1.75, it's 30 billion. So what's the next program that's likely to go into the recon? All the details of that right now. The next one is likely paid leave. This is a big one. This is also a campaign promise from the President of the United States, like the home health care and the cheaper medication. The opponent, Joe Manchin, he says it's costly to businesses. Well, you got to do it, Joe. I mean, business can't just make sums of money and not do the right thing. Why is it not the right thing? Because every country that is first world around the globe has this. We're the only country that doesn't have it. It means we're not competitive in the corporate landscape because we're not offering the same thing to our employees that other companies in other countries are doing that are first world countries. And what is it? Paid family leave. You have to stay home because you want to stay home because your birth of your first son. Guess what? It's on your dollar. What do you mean it's on my dollar? Because the federal government doesn't have to pay you paid leave, medical leave. Let's say you have to stay home because your son broke his leg and you're a single parent. It's on your dollar. Employer doesn't have to pay you. Only in America. In any other country across the globe, you do. And America's the only developed nation where working people do not have this, says Gillibrand and Patty Murray, both senators, Democrats. They're going to be pushing to get it in there. I think it's going to go in there. The second provision that likely will go in there is SALT. SALT is the cap on state and local tax deduction. It is very beneficial, very helpful if you live in a big state like Texas, Florida, California, New York, and New Jersey. That comes from Gothenheimer. Gothenheimer's that moderate Democrat. He says he's put it in there. Paid leave, Nancy says she should put it in there. The last provision is that immigration reform. Immigration reform, remember, is not someone just arrived in the United States tomorrow and they're getting a $20,000 stimulus check. I've just seen all that nonsense on Twitter and social media. It is untrue. This is about people who have been in this country for 20, 30 years paying taxes, but do not have a path to citizenship. That's what this is talking about. It's not checks to them or things like that. So, do I think it's to survive? I don't. I think the Senate parliamentarian who's going to rule on it, potentially as early today, is going to take it out. All right. I know you like it. I like it. Let's go over the voting count on some of these provisions. What will be happening? I told you so. Let's see if I'm right on this one. So, the prescription medication, by the way, that's done. They have a 50-50 on that one. So they have all the Democrats on board for that one. How about the paid leave? The paid leave is a very big ticket item, a very big issue for a lot of people. If they get it in there, then so be it. There is no fraction of the Democrat caucus at the moment that says, I'm voting against the recon if paid leave is not in there. So we don't hear that yet. Let's go to the SALT. SALT does have that. The Goth gang, Gothenheimer's supporters that are Senate House members say they will vote against the recon if SALT is not in there. Do I believe that? I don't believe that. I think he's going to fold like a lawn chair. When you're not a Bernie or a Liz or a Chuck, you can say, I'm going to vote against the president's legislation. I think he's just trying to grandstand. I think he will fold if SALT is not in there, but I think it will get in there. All right, immigration reform. This is where it becomes very interesting. There are more Democrats who want the immigration reform out than who want it in. And there's more Democrats who says they're blocking the recon in the House side if the immigration reform is in there. Yeah, there are other Democrats on the other side who says if it isn't in there, they're blocking it. But when you're looking at the poll, at the ring count at the moment, there are more House members against the inclusion of the immigration reform. There you go. Wow, what a fluid situation. So are things being changed? Of course things are being changed. And that's why Bernie Sanders said on Thursday, it's the best bill since the 1960s, but major gaps like medication. Well, we got that in there, but more changes are coming. And those more changes are coming are confirmed by the legislators themselves. They've been talking about making changes across the board. And those comments to make changes were voiced by senators. Let's look at some of those comments besides Bernie. Ron Wyden says the deal's not done until the Senate acts. Absolutely. And he says there's a significant amount still to do. Chris Coons says expect dozens of proposals. These are all senators talking, senator after senator. Then we have Pramila, which is House. She said senators are actually texting me to see things to negotiate. She said that over the weekend. Then we have AOC saying she's waiting for more senators to negotiate. We have Senator Stabile now, Democrat Michigan, saying that more negotiations are happening. We have Chuck Schumer, who has to deal with the Senate parliamentarian on the immigration. And then we have Senator Chris Murray, Democrat from Michigan, says my impression is things are going to get modified. So with that, let's go to something that's really quite strange, and you're not going to see anything like this anywhere else except here. It's the strange language of this press conference from Joe Manchin on Monday. Broadcast media were trying to turn it into like a Kardashian reality TV battle moment, but it wasn't. But there was one sentence in there where he said something fascinating. He said the so-called 1.75 with a lot of budget gimmicks. Does it sound familiar to something someone else has said? Yeah, me. I had said as soon as Thursday came upon us last week when we got drafts of what's in the recon from broadcast media, I said, did broadcast media get it wrong? I don't have this in my notes of what was agreed upon. I don't have this in my notes. Why does it keep on saying permanent? Lifetime, permanent. It's not lifetime, it's 1 year. Now, I believe that what happened was the following. Nancy put the House bill to the subcommittee called the House Rules on Thursday. And that House subcommittee, she also said she sent over copies to senators to look at it. I think when Joe Manchin looked at it, he said, wait a second, what are all these words? I didn't agree to this permanently. I agreed to 1 year. Provisions that are $100 billion are 1 year. They aren't permanent. Permanent is like $900 billion or $1 trillion. It's not $100 billion. Here is the example as we go over the programs in and programs out. You're going to see my analysis of, is broadcast media getting it wrong or are they getting it right? And this was provisions that people did not agree to, and that caused Joe Manchin to say that. Pre-kindergarten, tuition free for 1 year for 3 to 4 year olds. Then the CTC, the child tax credit, extending this for 1 year for individual families who make $150,000 or less. Excuse me? $150,000 or less. That's not in my notes. It was $80,000. It always was $80,000. And then they were trying to do 110, but they never said 150. So here comes the first warning signal. Is broadcast media getting it right? And that someone in the Democrat caucus added that language in that draft that wasn't supposed to be in there? Well, before you answer the question, let's go to the next one. The earned income tax credit, they got that in there. Here we go. Home health care. They're going to be permanently improving Medicare by adding home health services for seniors and people with disabilities. No, they aren't. No, they aren't. They didn't agree to permanently. They agreed to 1 to 2 years. That's why it's $100 billion. So this is a red flag right there. Who put the word permanently in there? Is it a bad broadcast news channel, or is it the White House, or was it the legislators trying to pull a fast one and get people to agree to 1.75 with provisions that basically renew every year for the rest of Kingdom Come? Yeah, it's starting to look like it's someone who wrote the thing up wrong and tried to get Joe Manchin to not read it. He reads everything and he doesn't miss a bit. Then we got also money for the home repairs, $150 billion for home repairs, including construction, rehab, and improvement of more than 1 million affordable homes. Then they got Pell's grant, additional $550 for 5 million students, the earned income tax credit again for 1 year. And then for college, for students, they got free school meals for 8.7 million children during school years and $65 more during the weeks that they're off. Wow, what a change across the board, because it was just days ago where we had that quote from Bernie that said, listen, we need to do a lot of stuff for this recon and we're not doing it up. And one of them was people are being ripped off by Big Pharma. Well, guess what? They got that provision done. He had said that the number one thing on people's minds is that they're paying 10% for these prescription medication than other countries. Well, that solution's in. But one solution still likely a battleground today, which is teeth and vision. Let's go over the details of that because that's very strange. First, Medicare expansion, they got it across 50 states because of Raphael Warnock and also Jim Claiborne, with all the states paying their equal share, including Republican and Democratic states. They did not drop the Medicare eligibility age to 55 or 60, but they got hearing in there. Strange for two reasons. First, dental, vision, hearing. Most expensive is dental. Cheapest is vision. Why would you not get the cheapest provision in there? $50 for a prescription, $100 for some glasses. Why is that provision not in there? Makes no sense. Doesn't also make sense because more people are helped with prescription glasses than people on hearing aids. There's less people who need hearing aids than people who need glasses. But also very strange is what went on with the dental. The president wanted 10 years, Bernie went 10 years, then they cut it to 3 years. Then the president said, I can't do 3 years, we've got to do something smaller. Then they did a vouchers, $800. I said it was not enough, and then poof, gone. Not particularly clear why and who's taking these provisions out. Let's go over some of the other things that don't really line up across the board. And it starts with my notes and compares those notes against what we were told was the deal item, the CTC. I showed 1 year, $60,000 or less. Yeah, they were trying to do it 4 years at $110,000, but they were not doing $150,000. Why is that in the latest draft out from Broadcast Media? Free school meals, free community college out. Pell's grant, we just went over that, $550 more, now tax-free. Paid leave. Okay, this is where the paid leave advocates are very powerful, but did not blink when it got reduced dramatically. Nancy Pelosi is behind this. She put in 12 weeks of paid leave for everyone, all income levels, self-employed and gig worker, decade, $500 billion. Oh, boy, that's a lot. So she slashed it. She did 4 weeks only, low income and employees only, W-2. That's $100 billion. Oh, that's a lot cheaper. I would have liked it to include gig workers as well, low income. That's our hope, that we're fighting to get it in there. What other provisions went out? Prescription medications in there. Childcare is in there. Clean energy out. Health insurance, they extended that, and that is in there. And then the housing aid. Wow, this is a big win. Housing aid, rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and yeah, the home repairs. Under third stimulus is $47 billion. They wanted $300 billion. It was removed, completely gone. Maxine Waters got it back in there at $175. Wow, $175 billion compared to third stimulus at $47. And then in-home healthcare, they wanted $400 billion. Then they wanted $200 billion. It's going to come in somewhere between $100 to $200 billion. And yeah, you see $100 to $200 billion for home health care. That's about a year or 2 years. It's not permanent. Permanent would be like $1 trillion. There you go. So let's go over the next question across the board is the voting process, and that big vote, when, where, how, on all those details. Well, the vote heats up as early as Friday. But Nancy Pelosi has often called things for a vote on Thursdays. Remember, the Roads and Bridges called for a vote last Thursday in the month of September, also on Thursday, usually like 9 o'clock at night. So tomorrow could be a lot of this week could be a lot of dramatics with the potential vote for the recon called across the board. We'll see the equation with those senators, because the senators don't particularly see eye to eye on calling the vote for the recon and the Roads and Bridges at the same time in the House first. They see it over in the Senate. And now I have a little bit of my opinion of the situation and my commentary coming up second. But now let's turn to some other things, which include the student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. The president forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation. And then the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the nonprofit sector for 10 years after graduation. But now the president's proposing to do it for other people. The doing it for the nonprofit sector and the private and the public sector were huge. The public sector, if you worked there for 10 years after graduation, all your debts are now forgiven. That's the city, county, and state and federal government. But the offer on the table, an additional $10,000 across the board. Everyone, doesn't matter your income levels or anything, Democrats should take it. Fifth stimulus, boy, you're going to hear Jay Powell testifying on Capitol Hill this week, and he's going to talk about inflation. It's going up. It's not transitory. It's still going up. And next year, it's going to be not as high, but it's still going to be up. 1% to 3%, I'm predicting at the moment, before it gets worse this year. What does this mean? Well, guess what? Have you gotten that letter from Treasury? Treasury is sending out that letter, or Social Security says your benefits are going up next year 5.9% approximately. But guess what? There is more behind it, and it is fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus will raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits. Then apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark is inflation. So let's do the analysis. First, you're going to go up under this. Then they're going to then they're going to raise you up one lifetime lift, and then when they apply the new benchmark of inflation in December of next year, 2022, you'll go up another approximately 3%. That's 3 lifts in 1 year. They're going to remove the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law. It's going to go away. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law. It's going to go away. And they're going to remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest. Meantime, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The membership link is in the video. Consider becoming a member today to get access and get that newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. From me to you. It's written by me and is sent via the YouTube alert system and features all the big money that is in first, second, and third stimulus. That is how viewers are getting big sums of money. As soon as third stimulus became law, I said, you can get $15,000 from this third stimulus. Far more than a $1,400 stimulus check. Well, now the viewers are getting a lot more than that. Average viewers are getting about $40,000 across the board. You want to look for the rent. If you've gotten rent before from this channel, get some more. Rent is paying more rounds of rent. Viewers are now getting upwards of $35,000 for rent. Then you want to get the utilities. The utilities incredible. Viewers are getting upwards of $15,000 like Mark's brother-in-law. So between the utilities and the rent, what do? You call up 6 places. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall and State House Authority. And the keywords you can say are rent assistance because of COVID. Rent or mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. And there you go. When you do the utilities, you want to reach out to many utility companies you have, and then you want to get that SNAP. SNAP is money for food. You deserve it. Go get it. And yes, people are getting big sums of money, $25,000 for SNAP. Some viewers, like Mark's brother-in-law, have gotten on this channel, but can continue to get multiple sums. Here are the people who got multiple sums, and guess what? Viewers are getting upwards of $100,000 routinely from this channel, like Mark, who got over $100,000. But we have other people like Lorraine, $120,000, and we have Johnny, $80,000. These big sums of money and how to learn about to do these monies, all featured for members in that newsletter. That newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and features all the big money in the first, second, and third stimulus. Features the 5 nonprofits. Features the statement from Treasury that you want to read before you call up to ask for that rent. And with that, let's go into the final minutes of this video with my commentary of the situation as we start a new day across the board. What a historic win for the president. I really say that the president, he negotiates well. We've had a lot of elected officials over the last year where we said, oh, you're not really hands-on. You're always deferring to someone to take care of it. When he took care of the negotiation with Kristen Sinema on that Wednesday night, it was transformative. It really brought us from nothing on prescription medication to now getting it done. And it broadened the situation by looking outside the box. Not every medication got in there. Not They were allowed to get a step up medication companies, but not a big step up tied to inflation. And it really showed that the priority of those legislators was with you, not with them. They're not there to make sure Medicare gets more money, gets less cost burdens. It was just make sure you pay less at the register. It truly embodied the Purple Power spirit, because guess what? I mean, we had nothing on a Wednesday at one point. We thought there was still nothing on Thursday, and they negotiated Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Around the clock. Bernie Sanders didn't celebrate Halloween. I mean, maybe he did. He dressed up as Mitch and he didn't tell us. But he didn't celebrate Halloween. He worked on Saturday. He worked on Sunday. He made the phone calls. Did you make phone calls on Sunday advocating? He did. And now he has that provision in there. Not as big as he wanted, but he's the number one guy of the equation. And they got it in there. You got to take something to get it going. And they're going to come back and get more going as well. What do I think is going to be next? I think you're really going to see a lot of differencing of statements. You're going to see the House members talking about vote, when the vote, how the vote, where the vote, what day, the nuance of the vote. And then you're going to have the senators talking about the substance. We got to fix this and we got to fix that. Remember, very far from over, provisions could be added across the board, as Ron Wyden says, as we're not done until the Senate acts. And the Senate has been acting really well this week as well. I want you to subscribe. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto currently playing on this channel, and then we go into Morning's LA live on air, noontime, Morning's Crypto live on air at 10 o'clock, and noontime at 11 a.m. So with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of the incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Power, Purple Hawk, or Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful morning, and I will see you next. And stay with LA for more.